Hello there, good morning. We have a coffee and we have a morning subject, which is how to control and improve and get the biggest cracks on technical Martian Ironearth or Agrellan Earth, any of this type of product from Games Workshop. Now, you may be asking, number one, why would you want the cracks to be really big? And one of the main reasons is that it makes it easier to have them show up during painting. So I'll show you a small and big cracks example. Now there's still various things you can do to highlight them when they're smaller, and these ones are quite defined. So it's up to you, but knowing how to control their size will help you just get the most out of them in general. And I've got some other tips that are to do with just how to make them look their best. Now, there's a few things that are covered, and I don't think they're necessarily covered because they're understood well. So I'm going to provide an explanation for each of these points. And this is pretty much everything you're going to need to know about being able to control them to whatever degree you want. And I've also got a couple of tips for just making them look good generally. I've got some examples of 1-coat and 2-coat ones over different surfaces. So let's have a little sip of our coffee and we can jump in. That was a greedy sip. Right. The way that this stuff works is it's just crackle paint. As it evaporates, the surface area shrinks, and because there's not enough area for the surface, it forms cracks. Now, the number one or two is just thickness. Thickness in two senses. So when you get one of these and it's new, it'll very often be quite runny, in my opinion, in my experience, or if you want bigger cracks or greater control, you're better off using the paste. So when your paint is brand new, one thing you can do is just leave it open. I know that sounds crazy. You're told not to do that, but that will genuinely work. And what I find is that they tend to get far better over time. They get less easy to take out, and like you're not painting them anymore. You're kind of pushing them around a bit, but that's fine. So what if yours is brand new? Or what if you're trying to match up the dregs of your old batch, which looked fantastic, with your brand new batch, which looks dreadful and is not nice to use? Well, 5 minutes before recording, I started prepping this. There we go. You can see it better from the back. So this has now been thickened. I wouldn't necessarily do it on tissue paper. I've just done this because it's going to take less time for the video, but this is a paste. I would use a piece of just brown cardboard from a box or something like that, and just use that as your palette. Spread it out thinnish, and then you'll work out. It's quite intuitive. Obviously you don't want it to dry out fully, but without putting a hairdryer on it or being an extremely hot, dry day, even with using a piece of cardboard, you can have working time, and that will allow you to thicken it. Then you can apply it as a paste, which is really, really easy and helpful. Let me just show you some application. Okay, so I've not added water, and while you might want some on your brush to help it leave, you don't want to be introducing more water to the process because you get tiny cracks like this. So when I'd apply it, ignoring that piece of fluff, generally speaking, I kind of blob it around initially. And then I just pat it about. I'm going to cover some stuff to do with the edges at the end and making it look good, and we'll use this again. They're around here. Now, we've covered not adding water, so even if you clean your brush and rinse it regularly whilst using it, which you should, use an older brush, by the way. Don't use one that's too floppy unless you're smoothing at the end, because you want to be able to poke things around. So I have this very old one that I use for cleaning my airbrush. It's still got decent spring back, so that helps me control it. If you use too large a brush, it'll hold more water than you think, and you have to rinse your brush between goes. So you want like an old, medium-sized, good quality brush. I know it's a long list, but old, medium-sized, and good quality. Something between a 1 and a 3. If it's a 4, even if you think you've removed a lot of the water from the brush, it'll be holding a lot, and it'll impregnate your mix, and then you'll be back to square one with using a wet new one that just doesn't behave as well. Okay, undercoat. This is a particularly kind of confused one, and I think the reason that people find this confusing is that you can literally undercoat with the varnish, and that'll make your surface shiny. It won't be porous anymore, but that makes the cracks kind of, they can't stick. So they're going to flake off easily, which is a huge negative, which is one reason to avoid it. But they are going to form very easily because they're not sticking to the surface that's underneath them. On the other side, anything porous will pull the moisture out and thicken it, so you might aid yourself a little bit there in terms of what you're doing. But essentially, if you just put it over anything, you'll be fine. And one of the fastest ways around this, to go back to our test base, is just to put a really quick layer of it down, dilute it with water if you want, and then just do a second layer. And your second layer is the one that you're going to rely on or you can do 2 thick coats. We had a funny meme about Duncan for that in one of our April Fool's videos that went down very well. But yeah, you could use 2 thick coats, and I'll show you at the end the result of using 2 thick coats with care, because this base looks fantastic. Right, repetition. We're already done. So simple. So the repetition is absolutely huge. Once you've put 1 layer down and you put a 2nd layer down, the 2nd layer will just behave better. You'll have like quite big cracks, maybe, but they could be thin. Physically, their height could be thin and they could be brittle. And also they don't quite look 100% random. The moment you've done a 2nd coat, that is when you're going to get something that looks like this. Looks amazing, right? It just looks like it's out of a nature documentary or something like that. So repetition is the biggest thing. Ideally, you just whisk all the way over it. Don't worry too much. You don't have to get it super thick, but you know, don't aim for it to be thin or anything. Let that dry fully. That'll take a little while, especially if you're on a shiny surface. And then your 2nd coat should dry super fast once it's over your 1st coat, because you're putting something porous down on something porous. So almost like putting this down over tissue paper or wood or something like that. So slap down a coat. Don't worry about it too much. If it's thick, that's fine. One thing you do want to do though, we're moving on to making things look prettier now, and I'll show you here, is you want to avoid any patterns that are to do with the edge of your base. And this is one of the most common issues. One is just brush strokes. Okay, like a load of lines in one direction is going to look like a brush stroke. I find it a little bit better to kind of pick and dab as you go. And the other one is work your way right up to the edges, but try not to have any discernible pattern where you've done something around the edge of your base, because it'll break the illusion that this is part of a greater whole. One of the easiest ways to do that, wet the brush and then take the majority of the water off and just push things around. So I'm going to have more towards the edge, the base here, less here. If you have less towards the edge of your base, especially if you're on a round base, you're going to have this thing where every single one has the same pattern going on, and it just looks a bit weird. So try and collect some thicker, big ones towards the edge of your base to the degree that you can. Surface tension is going to fight you on this. And then have thinner bits and you'll get smaller cracks. And that'll give you the variety. Finally, we do have a video on combining the 2 texture pastes. I have a very favorite one from AK these days. You can just push them into each other while they're wet and it works amazingly. Really, really good. We got a full video on this where I've combined it with skulls and I've done some painting. But let me show you. It is so easy to combine them. You can combine them full stop. You can also add sand into it. Obviously Games Workshop have got, I forget the names, but they've got the ones that have got the sand involved already. I should have put clean rims on this. What a rookie. I'm glad that I stuck around for this. Right, clean rims. Clean rims are about the most important thing in bases looking great. What you want is your base to be all features on top and nothing on the side. I just find a licked finger is by far the best tool available for this. If you don't like a licked finger, I'm sure you can do something else that's similar. All right, so if we blob our paste around, we should then be able to wet blend with this in the middle. And you literally just push them into each other a bit. It's the ground, it's not regular. You really don't have to worry about things being fancy. That's enough. And with that, you can get this cool effect where this one's been unpainted, one just becomes the other. Look at the size of those cracks as well. Super realistic. You can see I've tried to avoid it panning towards the edge. I haven't quite, but it's not got that like hard line where it looks like I've literally just painted with a wet brush around the edge and things have gone really thin. There you go. That is everything. Have we got any more examples on the table? This is that lifting I spoke about. This is because it's gone over a shiny surface. What you want to do is seal this afterwards. You can do that with wet PVA, or you can just make sure you prime that area fairly thoroughly. My favorite though, and the most convenient by far that I've discovered, is just giving the feet of your model and the base a blast with this before you go to priming. If you want to prime your base and then put this texture paste on, primer is anything, so you can use primer as an undercoat and that'll make things behave better and stick better as well. Okay, we did it in pretty much 10 minutes. If I missed anything, let me know. Check out this video, which is about combining with the texture pastes, and it also shows how to paint bases pretty nicely as well. So that's how we've done this type of result, which I think looks amazing. I've built up these bases with green stuff too, and that's worthwhile, as is popping on some skulls. Thank you very much. Let me know what you would like me to cover for another quick morning video with a coffee. If there's any products out there, I think there's a lot of intimidation about these things, and really it just generally comes down to knowledge. Of course, you can have small cracks if you want, but they might get lost if you base coat them thickly. So prime carefully if they're small, or just hand prime rather than from a can. Thank you very much. We'll catch you in the next video. Suggestions down below.